So we're going to start out with an Evo lift. It's a 4.5 inch lift. I've done a lot of research on different companies, and I know a few people that have these lift kits. They ride really well from what I hear. We'll find out, because usually it gets pretty stiff and bumpy when you're driving them, but we're going to do that. We're going to do 40-inch tires, which is not great for street, but we'll make it work. And then some nice KMC wheels, winch, bumper. I know everybody's gonna be like, well, did you put new axles under it? And it's not gonna handle the 40s. Well, we're gonna gusset it up. We're putting 538 gears in it. This thing should work like it needs to. So the plan for this Jeep is to take my son and Megan out to Colorado, do like overlanding, do trail stuff, the easy trails. I don't want to beat it up on rocks and get into body damage and fixing that every week, but that's the goal for that, is to get out and enjoy and see things that we haven't seen yet, and just look cool maybe doing it. So this build is not sponsored. It's out of my pocket. I'm just trying to build something that the family can enjoy. It's going to take a lot of work. We've been doing a lot of four-wheel drive stuff. We've been doing a lot of lift kits, wheels and tires. I've decided we're going to showcase what we can do. We're going to build this Gladiator and make it to where I can barely get in and out of it, and try and have some fun with it. I got a list of other things I want to do, but for right now, that's what we're going to do. So let's get it in the shop and get it tore apart.
With locations for the factory fog lights to be mounted, so you have to pull them out of the original bumper, take your wiring harness, reconnect it, and it's going to be a bit long, so we can just tie it up out of the way. Someplace where it's not going to get pinched or smashed. You'll have to get your own hardware. They're just through holes, so you grab some bolts and nuts and washers, and we Loctite them in there so they don't fall out anywhere, they don't vibrate loose. Eventually we'll have to make small harnesses for the side lights on these bumpers. Installing an Evo 4.5 inch lift. It's their stage 2 pack 2 kit. Comes with adjustable lower front control arms and adjustable rear upper control arms to keep your pinion angle where it should be. I've also ordered a steering correction kit for the track bar, I believe, to keep it a little more level after the kit, so its steering stays basically like it should. We just went with somebody that's got good reviews and seems to have good reliability.
So right now I'm removing the bolts for the brake lines to take the shocks off, and then once I pull the shocks off we can lower it down and remove the coil springs to be able to drop down the shocks, and then we can raise up the vehicle to remove the coil springs and leveling blocks that were already installed in the vehicle, because it does not work with the new lift kit.
Make sure whatever lift you're getting is compatible with the vehicle you have. Like this Jeep in particular, the axles on this are wider than a standard Jeep. These are the same axles that would be underneath like a Jeep Rubicon or a Mojave. But when you get your kit, you specify all this stuff so that when they ask you, you have that stuff ready, and you know, hey, look, I got this model. I know I need this size, these size parts, you know, that kind of stuff. So usually when you add a lift kit to a vehicle, the ride will get a little stiffer. Handling wise, it causes you generally to be a little more top heavy, so you want to go around the corners a little slower than you normally would. It'll add more ground clearance, but it comes with some drawbacks. Like I said, the stability is a little compromised. The rims that we have a different offset and backspace to kind of help clear all the steering components and also add to the stability. If somebody's done it a bunch, or if they've looked at a lot of vehicles and they're familiar with a lot of the parts and what order to take the stuff off in, this kit, you're probably more between, I would say, 7 to 12 hours, depending on how many you've done or you know how familiar you are with doing it. If you have a lift, if you're doing it on the ground, if you have air tools to work with, or if you're doing everything with just regular hand tools, that all changes how long it takes. Not verifying that the components actually work with their vehicle, just keep grabbing a general kit without doing the homework, and then they find out the hard way that, hey, this doesn't fit because it was a different model, or a lot of times they'll have suggested parts to make either the install go better or to actually help replace some of the quality that you're used to or the feeling you're used to, like their steering and stuff like that, they have additional parts that you can buy. Sometimes they're not part of the kit. It depends on the price of the kit. They'll piece them out separately. So check, make sure you're getting what you need for your vehicle. Probably look to see if the size of the kit you're putting on, the size of the tires you're putting on, if it's going to require any sort of frame or body modifications. This Jeep doesn't have the high flare, what they call high cut flares on them, like the Rubicon, so we might end up replacing these with different flares later to clear the tires, especially since these are 40s. A lot of people stop at about 37s. They say 37s is kind of the breakover point, so he wants 40, so we're going 40, so there might be a little more trimming than the normal going on.
When I get ready to pull the rest of the bars off of this axle, so we can pull the axle out, so I'll remove the steering, both these bars, and then in the drive shaft, we'll drop the axle out so it's ready to go for when they're ready to weld it up, and then we can get it painted, reinstall it, and start putting it back together.
The front's all disassembled for now, so we get the axle truss welded on. Start taking apart the rear suspension so we get the lift done on the back. Take off and put longer sway bar end links on it. Put taller bolt stops on it, and obviously change the springs also. They have a measurement, you preset them too. It comes in the instructions. These are all preset, and since we're in Illinois, we're gonna get a bunch of snow and salt. Fill all the threads with never sees. That way it doesn't lock up in a year or two in case you have to make some sort of adjustments. I'll just sit down in there. Like the other one did. Your grease zerks point up. That way they're accessible. Replace it with an adjustable. There's also a bracket that goes on to relocate it. Calipers off and hang them, and we'll be able to lower this down to get these springs out. So what we're going to do, you don't normally have to do, is we're going to disassemble all of this, because we're just like the front, we're pulling this all apart to put new gears in the back. So here, then we're going to pull in this bracket off so we can get the rotor and everything else off too. All that unhooked, we should be able to lower this down and pull these old springs out. It has longer bolts and a couple shims to stack underneath there. We're not going to put that in right this second because we got to rip the drive shaft out anyway to tear all this apart, so we'll do that later. These are the factory spring isolators. We'll put them back up in there the same way they were, and the new springs you orientate so they sit in here the same way they sat on the from the factory. See, the new ones are a bit taller and heavier than the old ones, so sometimes they don't go in so well.
That's how it right.
There's a bracket that goes on here to raise this mount up for the new track bar. So we gotta put that on next. Rip apart this rear end so we can replace the gears in it. Got most of the old axle lube that's leaked everywhere cleaned up, So we're gonna open up the center section, drain it, take the bolts out, pull the axles out, and we'll drop the drive shaft off, take the yoke off, pull the center section out, and knock the pinion out of it. There's shims and all of this stuff, so we want to try to keep them in the right orientation. We'll measure them, we'll lay them out, that way they stay where they're supposed to stay. Start cleaning everything up. Once it's all cleaned up, then we can put it back together with the new gears on there. We're going from the 410s that it comes with from the factory to a 538 gear. The axle out for half a day yesterday. It finally came out, but the bearing separated and the race is stuck in there. So after we get the rest of this tore apart, we're gonna have to work and get that bearing race out of there. Drop the drive shaft off, loosen the pinion nut. So we marked these caps because they have to stay where they're at, orientated the same way. So just got to mark there so that to make sure they go back in the same place every time we put them on and off. So we're just going to take this loose, drop this out, try to get that pinion out of there, and then we can work on removing the old races and get everything all cleaned up, and we'll pull that old race out of the axle tube. So when you put all this stuff in there, like I said, it has shims already in it from the factory to line everything up. You take them out, you measure them, we'll put the new gears in there, we'll measure all this stuff, put it back in, and we'll check the pattern, we'll check the backlash and the preload and everything to make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. We'll put a marking pound on there, check the pattern. If it's not right, pull it all back again, change a few thousandths here and there. And in the end, a couple thousandths makes a difference on the pinion depth on your preload. So it gets pretty, you gotta be pretty accurate with it. You might have to do it 10 times. It's just kind of trial and error, but you always start with what you took out, and that'll get you close to begin with. The larger tires will cause it to run at a different RPM. So everything's got kind of a place where it's happy at, where it makes the best power, where it's most efficient. Putting those big tires on there kind of knocks it out of that area. So with the bigger gears in there, it puts you back in the right area. You'll feel like you have the torque back that you lost when you went to the bigger tires. You'll be able to accelerate better. It'll crawl a little better when you're creeping around off-road. And the gas mileage that you lost, you'll get some of that back with the gears, because the engine doesn't have to work as hard. At the same time, it'll take care of any sort of struggle that it's going to have now. So the trains won't have to work as hard, the engine won't have to work as hard, and everything will just kind of be happier together. Definitely break-in period. So usually you want to have about 5 heat cycles in it, and you want to go about 500 miles. And in between those heat cycles, you got to let it cool down. So it's not like you can drive it for, say, 20 minutes down the highway, keeping just a decent speed. Don't be doing 90 or anything. Let it cool down, stop, let it cool down for half hour, 40 minutes. I mean, it's best if you can let it cool down completely, but you don't have to. As long as it makes a pretty good change of temperature, you're fine. And you want to do that probably 5-6 times. Then after 500 miles, pull the cover, drain the fluid back out, put new stuff in there, and you're good to go. Took the old carrier, pulled the bearings off. We got the new bearings on. Got the new bearings on the pinion. All the new races are installed. I've installed all the original shims that we took out. We marked them down. We have the sizes. Put them in. I'll put gear marking compound on there so we can check our pattern and our backlash. So the pattern in it, it's not terrible. It's got a little bit too much backlash. I did check it, and it should be 4 to 7 thousandths, and it's at 12. So we need to bring the carrier over. And also, if you look, the pinion isn't quite where we want it. So we're going to have to take a couple thousandths out of the pinion shim so we can move this up more towards the middle of the tooth. So between the two, getting this up and getting this over, that should give us the pattern we're looking for, and hopefully the backlash will be. We did all our shimming in and out 500 times. Got everything torqued. Got a good pattern going on the teeth. That's where it should be. Got the backlash set at 4 thousandths. Recommended is 4 to 7. The rolling torque is 18 inch-pounds. Good there, between 12 and 18. We'll be able to start putting everything back together and get the new gasket on, clean cover, put the cover on. We're going to put new bearings and seals on our axles. We had one axle seal that's been leaking for a while. It's only got 30,000 miles, but it was leaking pretty good. So we're just going to put new bearings and seals on both axles and clean up the housing where it was leaking and all the rust that's already started. And we should be able to get it back together and get the drive shaft in and get the wheels fitted. We'll throw the calipers and everything on, obviously, but we'll test fit the wheels hopefully by the end of the day.
So we 3D scanned the front end axle assembly of the Jeep Gladiator so we could get gussets made to strengthen in the front end here. The kit that they bought didn't have anything that went from the bottom and top up here to strengthen this. So we 3D scanned that and modeled it out to where we could take it downstairs and cut it off the table and bend it ourselves and strengthen that front end. After we got it all set up and scanned and all the design done, we were able to take it down and cut it flat, make the bends, and then Justin welded it up. It took around 16 minutes to scan it. About a half hour to process all the scan data and everything and get it cleaned up to where it was clean enough to get the information we needed from it. And then I'd say probably another 45 to an hour to get everything designed to match and get the actual scan data in to where we could do our pattern for the table.
We just got the gears and everything installed, got the right shims put in for the right backlash. And then I installed the axles and put the front end together after Justin welded up all the supports across the top of the axle. Got all that done to beef it up for the bigger tires. I installed it into the front of the Jeep and put the new coils in and the new bump stops, installed the new bump stops. Now I am putting the adjustable sway bar links. So these are a removable sway bar link setup from Rough Country. You adjust them and then you'll put the pins in and then you can drop the sway bar links so the axle, you can raise it up and then the axle will be able to pivot more without the sway bar links in it. I removed these old brake lines and put the new longer brake lines on for the lift kit. Adjustable sway bar link, so, and then the steering shaft and I'll put all that stuff. And then we have to do a relocate for the steering. This will adjust the sway or the track bar to the correct location for the 4.5-inch lift. Now I'm just going to keep pushing forward one step at a time to get it back together and get the wheels on it and try to get it to an alignment tomorrow so we can start driving it and he can enjoy his new Jeep Gladiator. Alright, so we installed the removable sway bar links and all the brackets for that, and I installed the King pump shafts and then put the coils and everything. We installed all that, put in the new track bar with the new relocating kit to raise that up, and then I started reassembling all the steering, install the brake system again, and put in the new extended brake lines for the new 4.5-inch lift. Before we got everything set up, we put the rear tires on the back so we can make sure all the suspension is kind of where it's at. Now we're trying to get it all set up so we can take it over to the alignment shop across the street and get it aligned here shortly after I button up the brakes, and then we'll be driving it. We just got the truck back from alignment, and now we're going through and doing a double bolt check, make sure everything's tight. And I take a pretty pink paint marker and I mark everything that I type.
So now that all the hard work's done, I'm gonna step in and take the glory and put these on. now that it's done, let's hop in it and let's go out and test it on some hills and dirt and grass and whatever we got outside.